Good afternoon, everybody. You are listening to Lake Stevens Vikings Varsity Baseball. My name is Payne Patchett here for game number 17 of the 2018 Varsity Baseball season and the final conference game between the Lake Stevens Vikings and the Glacier Peak Grizzlies here at Glacier Peak High School in Snohomish. The Lake Stevens Vikings, in a way, they're coming off yesterday's sort of loss to Arlington 12-7. They played the final 2.5 innings yesterday, where nothing really happened. It was still a 12-0 Arlington win. But Glacier Peak, they're going to have to try and come back from something way more. They lost 16-2 in 5 innings a couple of days ago at Lake Stevens High School behind the arm of Jacob Wardela and behind the bat of Theron Perkins, who had a home run and a triple and a career-high 5 RBIs in that game. Speaking of Theron, he's going to be the starting pitcher for the Lake Stevens Vikings. Yes, Theron, who's only pitched in 1 game this year in 2 innings of relief back earlier this year, he'll be pitching against the Glacier Peak Grizzlies in the bottom of the first inning. When we come back, it'll be the top of the first inning with Lake Stevens coming up to the plate for the first time this afternoon, where it will be Ben Pizer, Theron Perkins the pitcher, and Trey Long. You're listening to Lake Stevens Vikings Varsity Baseball. And we are now into the top of the first inning of the final regular season conference meeting between Lake Stevens and Glacier Peak. The starting pitcher for the Grizzlies will be number 3, Jackson Swim, who is the starting first baseman a couple of days ago in the last game. Again, it is Jackson spelled Jaxsen and Swim spelled Sveum, and the leadoff hitter will be the left fielder, number 11, Ben Pizer. Pizer entering this game with a .388 batting average, leading the team among active players, 19 hits and 49 at-bats. The first pitch by Swim. Strike one looking right down the middle. With 4 RBIs and is 5 for 5 on stolen bases. He's been hit once, has scored a team-high 18 runs to go with 2 doubles and 2 triples. The 0-1. A hard-hit ball, this one. Laced right near the left field line, going to the left field wall. Ben Pizer going to second base, and the Vikings pick up where they left off in the last game with a leadoff double by Ben Pizer. This one leaning right near the left field line, this one landing at the left field wall. It's almost like a mini green monster here at Glacier Peak High School. It is fielded by the left fielder Peyton Smith. Brings up the starting pitcher Theron Perkins, who is currently in the middle of a tear, bringing his average up to .375 after it was up to .345 a couple days ago. First pitch, it was a strike, but Theron will call time. Theron Perkins, a .375 batting average. He had a homer in the last meeting between these two teams, the left field, with 11 RBIs, and is 3 for 3 in stolen bases. He has also hit 4 triples, 3 in the last 3 days. And the first legal pitch by Swim, swing and a miss, strike one. He has scored 3 runs, he has hit 4 triples, and he has been walked 4 times, in addition to getting hit once. Jackson Swim entering this game, 1 win and no losses, an ERA of 0.88, throwing 4 games in relief for Glacier Peak, just starting to get on the mound this year. Jackson steps off the mound as he has thrown 8 innings. He has allowed 7 hits. He has allowed 5 runs total, but only 1 was earned. A very similar situation to what we talked about with Glacier Peak's last starting pitcher, Jared Friedman, where he had a lot of runs on him, but about half of them were earned. Ben runs the third, ground ball. This gets past the glove of the third baseman, Pierce Levingood, and the Vikings get a run on the board. It's an RBI single by Theron Perkins. And Lake Stevens, they are not slowing down against this Glacier Peak team. RBI single by Theron Perkins, and Theron isn't slowing down as well. And the Vikings with an early 1-0 lead. They'll bring up Trey Long. He's at a .368 batting average, 8 RBIs, and is 5 for 5 on stolen bases. He's been hit 3 times. He has scored 11 runs. He has hit a team-high 5 doubles with 1 triple and 11 walks. First pitch by Jackson. Hard hit ball. This one going to the shortstop, Riley Parker, who tosses it to second. No, he drops it. The second baseman, Chase Rogers, drops the ball, and there's runners on first and second. It'll be an error that will put Theron on second base. It'll be a fielder's choice towards Trey. It's an error on Riley Parker, the shortstop, as he throws. It looks like a routine throw to second to the second baseman, Chase Rogers. Now the manager, Bob Blair, for Glacier Peak, talking to the umpire. He was trying to argue to see if see if he dropped the ball on the transfers. He was trying to throw to first. It doesn't look like the call's going to go his way. There's going to be runners on first and second base with nobody out for Will Wentz, the starting first baseman. 13 hits in 48 at-bats. He's been hit 3 times, has scored 6 runs, hit 4 doubles, and has been walked 5 times with a .271 batting average and a team-high 14 RBIs. And Jackson looking over at second base towards Theron, and he calls a timeout again. And Will, just like what Theron did a couple of at-bats ago, he calls a timeout before he's able to throw a pitch. And this time, this one was down in the dirt. It looks like Lake Stevens taking no chances here at trying to get at Jackson mentally on the mound. And once again, the first legal pitch by Swim. Runner goes, swing and a miss. Ethan Barker to throw to third, not in time. It's a stolen base. Theron with his 4th of the year, he's at third. And Trey with his 6th of the year, he's at second. And the lineup for the Lake Stevens Vikings, Ben, Theron, Trey, and Will at the 5 spot. And on deck is Christian Lapierre. Tanner Lind is 6th. And Hunter Zalesko, the shortstop, is 7th. The 0-1, fly ball. This one will barely go foul. No balls and 2 strikes. The first baseman, Aiden Ferry, running for that one. The 7-hitter is Hunter Zalesko, the starting shortstop. Brendan Miller, the 8-hitter, the starting second baseman. And once again at the 9 spot, Bryce Mefford is the designated hitter. He'll be hitting for the third baseman, Tate Bruss. And the 0-2 pitch, inside, ball 1. And the defensive lineup for the Glacier Peak Grizzlies on the mound is Jackson Swim. Behind the plate is Ethan Barker. On the infield, we have at third base Pierce Levengood once again. At shortstop is Riley Parker once again. And at second base this time playing instead of Kento Clymer will be Chase Rogers. And the 1-2 pitch, line drive ball. This one goes into left field. Theron's going to score. Trey will stay at third. It's an RBI single for Will Wentz, and the Vikings now lead 2-0. RBI number 15 on the year for Will. It leads the team. And there are runners on the corners with nobody out for Christian Lapierre. 9 hits and 39 at-bats. A .231 batting average with 8 RBIs and is 6 for 7 on stolen bases. And the first pitch by Jackson, strike 1 looking. And so playing at first base for Glacier Peak, Jackson Swim, normally the first baseman when he's not on the mound. Instead it'll be Aiden Ferry, who's played a few games for Glacier Peak. And the 0-1 will be a foul ball, goes over the Glacier Peak bleachers along the third base line, an 0-2 count. And the outfield is the same from a couple days ago. Peyton Smith at left field, Drew Brown at center, and Scott Schaffer at right field. And the 0-2. Strike 3 called right down the middle. Jackson Swim striking out Christian Lapierre for the first out of the first inning. And that is after 5 batters. 2 of them scored, 2 of them are on base. Here is Tanner Lind, 8 hits and 40 at-bats, a solid 200 batting average. Jackson looking over towards Will at first base. The first pitch, outside, ball 1. And the reserves for Lake Stevens, Jacob Gordon, Aleki Bachuan, Justin Troya, Tommy Lindgren, and the 1-0, outside, ball 2. Xander Fogel, Ethan Jansen, and Bailey Corley. They'll be the reserves. 2 balls and no strikes. The pitch from Swim will be a ball 3. The ball rolls away from the starting catcher, Ethan Barker. Will stay at first. And Lake Stevens wearing their road black uniforms, black jerseys, and white pants. And Glacier Peak, this is something they did not have this uniform combination last year in the last meeting of a white top and a gray pants. And the 3-0, strike 1 looking. Or they would have gray pants that would go down to the that would go down to the legs, and it'll be a white top with a blue Grizzlies along the chest. The 3-1 swing and a miss, strike 2. And it's now a full count for Swim against the junior right fielder, Tanner Lind. Trey Long at third base, Will Wentz at first base. And the payoff pitch Outside, ball 4, and the base is loaded. And the bases are loaded. For Lake Stevens, as the Vikings will go through their 7th batter of the inning, the starting shortstop, number 22, Hunter Zalesko, with the chance to get a couple more runs on the board. A 225 batting average, 9 hits and 40 at-bats. First pitch, strike 1 looking. 8 RBIs and a 6 for 6 in stolen bases this season. He has been hit 4 times. He has scored 8 runs, and he has hit 3 doubles and walked 4 times. And the 0-1 pitch inside, ball 1. Jackson Swim stepping off the mound, having a pretty rough first inning. The 1-1 outside, ball 2. 2 balls and 1 strike. Trey Long at third base. Will Wentz is at second, and Tanner Lind is at first. 2-1 by Jackson. Swing and a miss, strike 2, as the ball gets in and out of the glove of the catcher Ethan Barker. And Jackson, a timeout by Hunter. And the last game between these two teams at Lake Stevens High School, the Vikings won by the score of 16-2, and the Glacier Peak only used 2 pitchers, and that was Jared Friedman and Chase Rogers. The 2-2 pitch, swing and a miss, strike 3. Swim gets Hunter swinging for the second out of the first inning, still with the bases loaded. It'll bring up the second baseman, Brendan Miller. He is also entering this game with a solid 200 batting average, 5 hits and 25 at-bats, 6 RBIs, and is 1 for 1 on stolen bases. He has been hit twice. He has hit 1 double, two doubles, 1 triple, and has been walked 2 times. First pitch outside, ball 1. And he has scored 3 runs. And the 1-0 pitch inside for a ball 2. That is pitch 26 in this inning for Jackson. There's 25 pitches. There's pitch 26 coming up. 2 balls and no strikes. The windup and the throw. Strike 1 looking. 2 balls and 1 strike. And Jackson, the 2-1. Hard hit ball going in the right field. Back goes Scott Schaffer a couple of steps, and he will make the catch. And that will end the top of the first inning. A huge one so far for Lake Stevens. 2 runs on 3 hits, 1 error, and 3 runners left on. Lake Stevens takes an early 2-0 lead, as it'll be Theron Perkins. He'll be making his first varsity start on the mound. He'll face off against the left fielder Peyton Smith, the center fielder Drew Brown, and his counterpart, the pitcher Jackson Swim, in the bottom of the first inning. 2-0 Lake Stevens. And we are now back in the bottom of the first inning. Lake Stevens takes an early 2-0 lead over the Glacier Peak Grizzlies, as they will come up to bat for the first time this afternoon against the starting pitcher number 6, Theron Perkins. No wins, no losses, an ERA of 0, pitching in his second game this year. He'll be facing off against the left fielder number 18, Peyton Smith. And the first pitch by Theron. Hard hit ball, and this is laced on top of the bullpen, right next to the bullpen, at the Glacier Peak side of the field along the third base line. An 0-1 count. The 0-1 pitch. Check swing upstairs for a ball 1. Theron Perkins' second appearance this year. He has thrown 2 innings, 2 hits. He allowed no earned runs. He walked 1 and he struck out 3, and that was against the Meadowdale Mavericks as he was filling in for Christian LaPierre. And the 1-1 inside, ball 2. As he filled in for Christian LaPierre in the first inning. He pitched the whole second inning and was taken over in the third inning, and he had 3 unearned runs to his name. The 2-1 foul ball hits the backstop behind home plate. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Peyton Smith, a .250 batting average with 11 hits and 44 at-bats with 4 RBIs. He has scored 10 runs. He has hit 3 doubles, and he has been walked 5 times this season. And Theron getting the sign from the starting catcher, Trey Long. The windup in the 2-2. Hard hit ball going to center field. Christian LaPierre going back a couple of steps and will make the catch for the first out of the first inning. And they'll bring up the number 2 hitter, the center fielder, Drew Brown. Drew is hitting .317, 13 hits and 41 at-bats with 7 RBIs and is 1 for 1 on stolen bases. He has scored 13 runs, hit 2 doubles, and has been walked 6 times. And Theron, the first pitch. Strike 1 looking. Theron also has a nasty slider in his arsenal, is planning to use that a few times against the tough Glacier Peak hitters. The lineup for the Grizzlies, Peyton Smith, Drew Brown, and Jackson Swim. They are the first 3 hitters. Theron with the sign, the 0-1. Strike 2 looking, a nice pitch right in the down inside corner of the strike zone. In the middle of the order, it is Pierce Levengood, the third baseman, the shortstop Riley Parker, and the right fielder Scott Schaffer, the same middle order as the last game. And the 0-2 by Theron. Upstairs, ball 1. The umpire is signaling a little bit. And it may have been a strike 3 as he moved from his position a little too quickly there to call a ball. And the 7 and 8 hitters for Glacier Peak are a little bit different. The 1-2 pitch, fly ball, as foul over the fence. The 7 hitter is the first baseman Aiden Ferry, number 23. And he'll be playing for instead of Jackson Swim at first base. And at the 8th spot is the second baseman Chase Rogers, who was actually pitching for the Grizzlies a couple of days ago at second base. And the 1-2, it'll be a get past the glove of a diving Tate Bruss. Drew Brown is going to go to second. And the throw to second, did he get him? No, it is offline, and Drew is going to stay at second. And the throw from the left fielder, Ben Pizer, to second base will be offline, and Glacier Peak has a 1-out double. It'll be the 3rd double of the year for Drew Brown. This one getting past the left field line, past a diving Tate Bruss to his right. And they'll bring up the number 3 hitter, Jackson Swim. And statistically, Swim has been the Grizzlies' top hitter. He has a team-high .450 batting average, 18 hits, and 40 at-bats. He has hit 2 home runs and has 12 RBIs this year. He's also scored a team-high 14 runs. He has been walked a team-high 12 times and has hit not a team-high 6 doubles, is 1 off. Next pitch, a ball 1, and Drew Brown's going to go to third. And the defensive lineup. And the defensive lineup for the Lake Stevens Vikings: on the mound is Theron Perkins. Behind the plate is Trey Long. In the infield, Tate Bruss at third base, Hunter Zalesko at shortstop, Brandon Miller at second, and Will Wentz at first, the 1-0. Strike 1 looking, a nice pitch by Theron. And the outfield, left field is Ben Pizer. Center field is Christian LaPierre. Right field is Tanner Lind. And there's no designated hitter. Jackson Swim. He has hit 2 home runs by the Glacier Peak Grizzlies. 2 of 6. And this one is playable. The 1-1 pitch going in foul territory. Will Wentz is under it. And it will drop the ball. As Theron will be ahead of the count, 1 ball and 2 strikes. There was a couple people in the Lake Stevens dugout reacting to that. There'll be a foul ball, 1 ball and 2 strikes, as Jackson still has life. And there is a lot of reserves for the Glacier Peak Grizzlies. We mentioned Kento Clymer, who is not playing today. Jared Friedman was the last game's losing pitcher. And Joel Plank was the DH. And the 1-2, a hard hit ball left field. Back goes Ben Pizer. That one's going back. That one is gone. That dropped foul pop fly by Will Wentz proved costly, as Glacier Peak has just tied the game, as Jackson Swim blasts off again with his 3rd home run of the season. He also has RBIs number 13 and 14, and this is a ball game again. And that'll bring up the cleanup hitter number 42, Pierce Levengood, the 3rd baseman. And the first pitch by Theron. Hard hit ball, lace shot to Christian, and that will fall right in front of LaPierre, and Glacier Peak, a 1-out single. Now bring up the number 5 hitter, Riley Parker, the shortstop. He has a .386 batting average, 17 hits and 44 at-bats with a homer and 18 RBIs on the year. He is also 1 for 1 on stolen bases. As Glacier Peak this season, they've only had 6 stolen bases. The most was by Peyton Smith, who had 2. First pitch upstairs, ball 1. And the throw to first not in time to get Pierce. So now in both of these games is Theron Perkins, who hit a 2-run home run a couple of days ago, and he's the pitcher. Throw to first not in time. And now it is Jackson Swim, who is today's pitcher for Glacier Peak. He is now homered. And Glacier Peak has now recovered from the early deficit. And the 1-0 by Theron, a hard hit ball going to left field. And Glacier Peak continuing their onslaught in the bottom of the first. As they now have the game-leading runs at first and second base, a timeout by Lake Stevens. Theron Perkins is going to have a talk with the manager, Josh White, and the catcher, Trey Long. As the number 6 hitter, the right fielder, Scott Schaffer, will come up to the plate. He is a pretty tough cookie to crack. There's a .409 batting average, 18 hits and 44 at-bats. And entering this game, he had the team lead for home runs with 3. Now he is tied for the team lead with 3 after Jackson Swim at a 2-run shot to left field. And has a team-high 19 RBIs. He has scored 10 runs, he has hit 4 doubles, and he has been walked 3 times. And the Lake Stevens Vikings are looking to recover from this hectic bottom of the first inning. Looks like Glacier Peak did, getting out of a very tough first inning of their own, allowing 2 runs on 3 hits, getting an error. Lake Stevens, they have now allowed 2 runs on 4 hits. First pitch by Theron to Scott Schaffer, the right fielder, a strike 1 looking. And so it is the reserves. Some of them are the same. Some of them are taken from Glacier Peak's junior varsity team, such as number 22, Zach Rodriguez, and number 24, Kyle Lee. Those are 2 guys who didn't ride the bus to Lake Stevens a couple of days ago. And the 0-1, upstairs ball 1. Nice catch by Trey Long to keep the runners on base. It is Grant Doman, who is once again in the reserves. Andrew Doe, Tyson Mahis, Joel Plank, who is a designated hitter, Ian Haig, Mike Emmerich, and Matt Odell, Bobby Martin, and Noah Stingley in the 0-1. A line shot to left. This one will fall, and Pierce Levengood will stay at third, and it'll be bases loaded. It is hit number 5 in this first inning. And it'll bring up Aiden Ferry, the starting first baseman. He has a .355 batting average, 11 hits and 31 at-bats with 8 runs, 5 doubles, and has been walked 9 times, getting 8 RBIs in the process too. He is 1 for 1 on stolen bases for the 8 and 9 Glacier Peak Grizzlies. Both teams, they are tied for second place along with Mount Vernon, or tied for third place along with Mount Vernon, with a 6 and 5 conference record. First pitch, a ball 1 outside. And the windup in the 1-0 by Theron. A 1-hopper to Trey. And the runners will stay, ball 2. And Josh White, he had a pretty peculiar decision of picking who's going to be the third starter. And the 2-0 pitch, that is upstairs, ball 3. As Theron, he was on a rhythm in the first few batters. It doesn't look like he's trying to find it now. And Theron, the 3-0. And swing, that is a foul ball. as Theron is now sitting at 24 pitches. The 3-1. Upstairs, ball 4. Glacier Peak now has the lead as Pierce Levengood will score from third. It is still bases loaded. And it'll be an RBI bases loaded walk for Aiden Ferry, his 9th RBI of the year. And it'll bring up the second baseman, Chase Rogers. And they'll bring up number 8, Chase Rogers. He is a .348 batting average, 8 hits in 23 at-bats, and 6 RBIs. First pitch by Theron, strike 1 looking. Also has 6 RBIs on the year. And the standings, the West Coast standings for the coming into today, Glacier Peak tied for third with Lake Stevens and Mount Vernon. The 0-1 pitch, check swing, strike 2. There'll be an 0-2 count. And the 0-2 by Theron, ground ball. This one fielded by Tate. Throws home. Does he get him in time? No, he doesn't. And it'll be a timeout by Lake Stevens. Josh White go and talk to the home plate umpire on the call, Trey. It was a ball that got in and out of the glove of the third baseman, Tate Brust. He tries to throw to the third.
Catcher number 1, Ethan Barker.
To no avail to the catcher, Trey Long, to try and get the second out, to try and get Riley Parker. They couldn't get him. And Glacier Peak now has a 4-2 lead as their number 9 hitter, Ethan Barker, the catcher. He'll come up to the plate, 5 hits and 16 at-bats, a .312 batting average, low for a ball 1. And let's go around for Westco Baseball when Lake Stevens was beating Glacier Peak 16-2 across Westco Baseball. Jackson beat Monroe by the score of 8-1. Cascade still continuing their strong season in conference play by beating Mount Vernon 5-3. There'll be a foul chopper fielded by the on-deck hitter Peyton Smith. 1 ball and 1 strike. And as a huge surprise, Kamiak playing the Mariner Marauders. And Mariner got their first conference win as they beat Kamiak by the score of 11-4. That gave Mariner their first conference win, and it mathematically eliminated Kamiak from the playoffs. The 1-1. Ball 2 outside. And so today it will be the end of the series that started on Wednesday. Lake Stevens playing against Glacier Peak. Cascade traveling up north to play against Mount Vernon. Mariner at Kamiak and Jackson at Monroe. And the 2-1 pitch, the ball gets away from Trey, and it'll be a ball 3. And Lake Stevens, Josh White announcing that Bailey Corley will be the first pitcher that will pitch for Theron in the bullpen. And it looks like that might be the case after these next couple of at-bats in the bottom of the first inning. And the 3-1. Upstairs, ball 4, and another run's going to score. As Glacier Peak now going back to the top of the order. As Scott Schaffer will score from third. Aiden Ferry is at third. Chase Rogers at second. And Ethan Barker at first. And they're going to bring in a pinch hitter for Ethan Barker. It is number 5, Kento Clymer. Timeout by Lake Stevens as they're going to bring in Bailey Corley already, number 26 in the black uniforms. We'll take a quick break here, bottom of the first inning. Glacier Peak 5, Lake Stevens 2, bases loaded with 1 out. And we are now back into the bottom of the first inning. Lake Stevens already bringing in a new pitcher on the mound after they allowed 5 runs to the Glacier Peak Grizzlies in this bottom of the first inning. 1 out. And it'll be back to the leadoff hitter, Peyton Smith, who flew out to center fielder Christian LaPierre, to start off the inning. And Bailey Corley will come up to the mound, will throw the first pitch, a hard hit ball going to left field. This one will fall, a barehanded snag by Pizer, and a run will score. An RBI single by Peyton Smith, and the inning will continue. It is 6-2. And it was an error on Tate Brust that scored Riley Parker, so no more runs will be earned. Only 3 will be earned. Only 3 will be earned towards Theron. That unearned run will go towards him. First pitch, ball 1, upstairs to Drew Brown, who hit a one-out double. Not an RBI double, a one-out double to start this game off. And Tate Brust will be taken out of the game. Theron's going to play at third. Foul ball. That one hitting the fence above the backstop. Bailey Corley, no wins, no losses. ERA of 0. He has thrown 3 2/3 innings, allowing 5 hits. Walking 1 batter, striking out 3, allowing no earned runs in his 5th game of the year. And the 1-1 hard hit ball that gets over the glove of the third baseman Perkins. 1 run's going to score. Here comes Clymer. He's riding around third, and Glacier Peak will continue this monster bottom of the 1st inning. As 8 runners will score, it'll make the score 8-2. And here is Jackson Swim. You can argue that he was the guy that started all, either him or Drew Brown with the 2-run home run, as he will now come up to the mound in this 1st inning again. First pitch by Bailey, low, ball 1. It is now an inning and a third, 5 hits, 8 runs, 3 have been earned, walking 2 batters, and striking out no one on 33 pitches. And Bailey looking over at second towards Drew Brown. And a nice pitch by Bailey, but it'll be a ball 2. And Peyton Smith will stay at second. Thought he scored there for a second. No, so it'll be Drew Brown with a 2-run single. And this will be a fly ball that will go above the Lake Stevens dugout for a foul ball. 2 balls and 1 strike. Peyton Smith at second base, Drew Brown at first. And Bailey, the 2-1. Upstairs, ball 3. And Bailey, the 3-1. Upstairs, ball 4. Jackson's going to get to first base and a 1-out walk. And for the last 11 batters, doesn't look like Lake Stevens could find out number 2 here, as they'll bring back Pierce Levengood, who hit a first pitch single. And it'll be a pinch runner for Jackson Swim. That'll be number 19, Joel Plank. He was the designated hitter for the, he was the designated hitter in the last game for the starting pitcher, Jared Friedman. And Bailey, the windup of the first pitch. A fly ball that is playable. Ben Pizer, he is under it. Peyton Smith goes to third, and a run will score. It is now 9-2. It'll be RBI number 7 for Levengood on the year. And it'll bring up the number 5 hitter, Riley Parker. For the second time in this inning, he hit a 1-0 pitch for a single. And later scored on an error. By the third baseman, Tate Brust, as he tried throwing home to Trey Long. And the first pitch by Bailey, fly ball, that's playable. Christian LaPierre going back. LaPierre, he's still looking, and he makes the catch, and it will end the first inning. It'll be 9 runs on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hits, with 1 error and 2 runners left on. Glacier Peak with a huge inning as they lead by the score of 9-2, but Lake Stevens, they have 6 more innings of baseball to hit. As they'll start off with Bryce Mefford in the 9 spot. They'll go back up to the leadoff spot of Ben Pizer and Theron Perkins in the 9-1-2. 9-2. Glacier Peak over Lake Stevens. This is going to the top of the 2nd inning. And we are now back in the top of the 2nd inning. Glacier Peak scoring 9 runs in the bottom of the 1st to take an immediate 9-2 lead after trailing 2-0 early. It'll be Jackson Swim back on the mound facing off against Bryce Mefford. First pitch under the strike zone, ball 1. And Jackson, a pretty decent first inning, even though he allowed 2 runs. This one a chopper to the second baseman, Chase Rogers, who throws the first. And he'll get him for out number 1 in the top of the 2nd inning. Brings us back to the top of the order in Ben Pizer, who hit an 0-1 pitch to left field to start off the 1st inning with a leadoff double and later scored on an RBI single by Theron Perkins. He had 7 balls for 18 strikes and 25 pitches. That is his total. First pitch, strike 1 looking. And in that inning, 2 runs and 3 hits, 1 error and 3 runners left on. And that is the total so far for Lake Stevens through 1 inning. And the 0-1, a 1 hopper to the catcher Ethan Barker, 1 ball and 1 strike. Well, because of the games back on Wednesday, the standings have changed. And the 1-1 ground ball, this one going to the second baseman, Chase Rogers, who throws the first. It'll be another put out by the second baseman. It'll be the 2nd out of the 2nd inning, as it'll bring us the number 2 hitter, Theron Perkins, who hit an RBI single.
Third baseman number 6, Theron Perkins.
That scored Ben from second. And the windup in the first pitch by Jackson. Swing and a miss, strike 1. So the standings are now like this. Cascade at first place at 10-1 with a 14-2 record overall. And is still one of the top teams in 4A in the state of Washington. The 0-1. Strike 2 looking. Fastball hitting the outside part of the strike zone. Jackson taking sole place of 2nd place with an 8-3 record. They are 11-5 overall. And the 0-2 by Jackson. Upstairs, ball 1. And tied for 3rd place is 3 teams, Lake Stevens, Mount Vernon, and Glacier Peak. And the 1-2 inside, ball 2. With Lake Stevens 6-5, 7-8 overall, or 7-9 overall. Mount Vernon 6-5, 10-7 overall. They're playing at home against Cascade today, and Glacier Peak 6-5, 8-9. In the pitch, this one deep into right center field. Scott Schaffer looking up, but it will go to the center fielder Drew Brown right near the wall. A well-hit ball, and that was a piece of cake upside down for Jackson Swim. No runs, no hits, no errors, and nobody left on. A 1-2-3 inning to end the top of the 2nd. Bailey Corley back on the mound in the bottom of the 2nd, facing off against Scott Schaffer, Aiden Ferry, and Chase Rogers. Glacier Peak leads by 7. And it'll bring it up. We now go into the bottom of the 2nd inning. Glacier Peak with a 9-2 lead. Bailey Corley on the mound against the right fielder Scott Schaefer. First pitch, ball 1. I've been saying Scott Schaffer because his last name had 2 F's. It is Schaffer. It's actually Schaefer. One of the F's is silent. And Schaffer hit a 1-1 pitch for a single back in the 1st. And the 1-1 fly ball, that is playable. That will land right in front of the Lake Stevens dugout. A little miscommunication there between Will Wentz and Trey Long. And that is another foul ball that will drop for Lake Stevens. And Bailey, 1 ball and 1 strike to wind up. Low, a 1 hopper for a ball 2. And Bailey getting the sign from Trey, 2-1. Fly ball, that's foul. Bailey's ahead of the count. Landing on top of the dugout with the softball field right across from the baseball field. Glacier Peak High School, they have a series of baseball fields. One of them is a softball field, and the other's The other 3 are baseball fields. The 2-2 pitch, low for a ball 3. Full count, 3-2. And Bailey, the payoff pitch. Ground ball going to the shortstop. Hunter Zalesko throws the first, is in time. And Will Wentz, the first baseman, will make the catch for the first out of the second inning. And it'll bring up the number 7 hitter, first baseman Aiden Ferry. He was walked on 5 pitches with the bases loaded, which got him an RBI. In Glacier Peak High School, there's like a area of 4 baseball fields, or 4 fields at least. One of them is a softball field that the Glacier Peak varsity softball team plays in. One of them is where the varsity baseball team plays in, and another one is where the junior varsity baseball team plays in. And then there's a 4th one that's just there just because. First pitch, swing and a miss, strike 1. A backbreaker swing on the first pitch by Aiden Ferry. And how the field is situated for Glacier Peak High School is also pretty interesting as well. The 0-1 by Bailey. Foul ball hits the fence, 0-2. And left field, the left field foul pole is at 301 feet. But the wall was lifted up a little bit from the other parts of the wall is this left field. And the 0-2. And a nice pitch by Bailey, but it'll be a ball 1. Just gets outside of the strike zone. Left center field at 356, center field at 385, right center field at 336, and the right field foul pole's at 305 feet. The 1-2 upstairs, ball 2, trying the curveball. And Bailey still ahead of the count, 2-2. Fly ball, that's gonna stay in play. LaPierre going back to get that one. LaPierre at the wall. Makes the catch near the warning track for the second out. That little bit of a wind blowing that ball towards the wall in deep center field. But Christian LaPierre, amidst all the wind, was able to make that one. Bailey pointing towards Christian to give him props for the catch, and he'll bring up the second baseman, Chase Rogers. Hit an 0-2 pitch to the third baseman, Tate Brust, who dropped the ball, tried throwing it home to Trey Long to get Riley Parker to no avail, and it counted as an error. First pitch, a strike 1 looking. And Bailey Corley, instead of wearing number 25 as he has done during the home games, he has worn number 26 on the road. The 0-1, hard hit ball. Center field, Christian going back. Not as far as last time, but he'll make the catch, and it'll be a 1-2-3 inning. Bailey with his own piece of cake upside down in the bottom of the second inning. No runs, no hits, no errors, and nobody left on. Glacier Peak still leads by 7. Jackson Swim pitching in the top of the third, facing off against the 3, 4, and 5 hitters of Trey Long, Will Wentz, and Christian LaPierre. 9-2, Lake Stevens trailing Glacier Peak. And we are now back into the top of the third inning, as Jackson Swim back on the mound, facing off against the number 3 hitter, Trey Long, for the second time this afternoon. Jackson with a pretty good second inning. 4 balls and 6 strikes for 10 pitches to wind up in the first pitch inside ball 1. Bring us to a total of 11 balls, 24 strikes, and 35 pitches. And all zeros in the inning. And total for the game still is the same. 2 runs, 3 hits, 1 error, and 3 runners left on. The 1-0 pitch inside ball 2. And Jackson, the windup and the 2-0 pitch, low for a ball 3. Trey Long on the first pitch he hit a ground ball to the shortstop Riley Parker, who tossed it to the second baseman Chase Rogers, and it was later discovered that Chase dropped the ball trying to get Theron out at second, and the inning continued. And the 3-0, strike 1 right down the middle. And so out of those 2 runs, one of those runs will be earned towards Jackson Swim, the other will not. And the 3-1, inside ball 4, Lake Stevens gets a base runner for the first time since that 2-run first inning on a leadoff walk by Trey Long. It'll bring up the cleanup hitter Will Wentz, who hit a 1-2 pitch for an RBI single, scoring Theron from second base. Or scoring Theron from third. He got a stolen base from second to third base. And the first pitch by Jackson. Outside, ball 1. And the last time these two teams played here at Glacier Peak High School, it was a pitcher's duel between Sam Baldini of Glacier Peak and Jacob Bradley of Lake Stevens, both players who have graduated, throw to first not in time. Glacier Peak, they took an early 1-0 lead. Lake Stevens tied it up at 1. And then Brendan West, their cleanup hitter, who has also graduated, hit a 2-run home run in the 4th to give them a 3-1 lead. Throw to first, not in time. A nice heads-up play by Trey Long to get back to first. It looked like he stumbled a little bit trying to get back there. Was able to get back there just in time. 1 ball and no strikes. From Jackson to Will. Swing and a miss, strike 1. And Brandon West, the cleanup hitter in that game, hit a 2-run home run over the right field wall. Lake Stevens, they could barely get another run in the 6th, but it was not enough. Glacier Peak ended up winning that game 3-2, splitting the series. The 1-1 pitch. Low for a ball 2 into the dirt to the catcher, Ethan Barker. And Jackson merely moving his head a little bit towards first. And this is a hard hit ball going in the center field. Back goes Drew Brown. He looks, he makes the catch. For the first out of the 3rd inning, Trey stays at first base, and he'll bring up Christian LaPierre, who struck out looking on 3 pitches. There's also game number 18 on the year for Glacier Peak. Throw to first, not in time. Glacier Peak, they have 2 games left on their schedule. They are 8-9 with a 6-5 conference record. They play on April 30th on Monday at Monroe. It's a pretty tough team right there, and then they have to play at home on May 1st. This one, a ground ball, gets past the glove of a diving Pierce Levengood at third base on the first pitch, and Christian LaPierre gets a 1-out single. Runners on first and second for Tanner Lind, who was walked with a full count, making the bases loaded, and was stranded at first base. And the first pitch by Jackson Swim, 1 hopper to Ethan Barker, ball 1. Runners will stay. A nice job by the catcher for keeping the ball in play. And so Glacier Peak, they have 2 games left on their schedule. Lake Stevens, they have 3 games left on their schedule. So Glacier Peak, they played on April 30th at Monroe, and then May 1st here at Glacier Peak High School against the Bearcats to finish off the year. Jackson looking over at second, and neither Riley Parker or Chase Rogers is at the bag to catch the throw. So Jackson will stay with the ball. 1 ball, no strikes. Jackson looking at second. And the 1-0 inside, and it'll go up in the air, and Ethan Barker can't find the ball. And Trey's going to stay at third base. As Trey was hinting an opportunity to take home there, it would be a 1-hopper. It's a 1-hopper, almost hits Tanner Lind. It'll get off what sounded like the catcher's mask of Ethan Barker. It stayed up in the air for a good couple of seconds, and Ethan couldn't find the ball. He thought it was on the ground. And so it'll be a wild pitch. It'll move Trey to second and Christian. No, it'll move Trey to third and Christian to second. And it is a 2-0 count. And the 2-0 pitch by Jackson. Strike 1 looking. Lake Stevens Vikings. After this game, they have to play against the Jackson Timberwolves, a team that people thought were going to run away with the conference because of how many really good players they have, how many young players they have. The 2-1. Foul ball. This hits the fence. Jackson ahead of the count. 2 balls, 2 strikes. As it'll be on Monday, April 30th, where Lake Stevens will travel to play Jackson at Mill Creek. And then on May 1st, they'll play at home to finish off the conference play. And the 2-2 by Jackson. Upstairs, ball 3. And then their final game of the year will be a road game. It'll be a 7 p.m. start on May 2nd as Lake Stevens will play newly formed Kinko team North Creek. The payoff pitch, fly ball, that's going to go in the left field. Peyton Smith is under it, and he makes the catch, and Trey will stay at third. A nice throw by the left fielder, Peyton Smith, to keep Trey at third. It'll be the second out of the third inning. And it'll bring up Hunter Zalesko, who struck out swinging on a 2-2 pitch. And the first pitch by Jackson, a foul chopper going towards the Glacier Peak dugout. And an 0-1 count. The May 2nd game will be played at North Creek High School at a 7 p.m. start, which gives me the assumption that they have lights, even though it's a new high school and may not be a new field, but it is definitely a new high school. And the 0-1, upstairs, ball one. And North Creek, this is their first year as a school. They had they started, celebrating their newly formed school with the football team who got their first win of the year and their only win of the year against Inglemore. And the 1-1 pitch low for a ball 2 to Hunter. And then the basketball team, well, they didn't do so well. And North Creek, they had their first state competitor as a member of the girls swimming and diving team in the fall, and the Seattle Times covered it. And it is a huge achievement for a newly formed school, especially in their first year. As we can make a comparison, we have one local school that just recently started, Marysville Getchell, the 2-1. Upstairs, ball 3, a 3-1 count to the sophomore shortstop, Hunter Zalesko, not Zalesko. I think I might mix it up either way. To make a comparison, Marysville Getchell is the second newest team in the state of Washington, and they had their first state team just nearby. The 3-1 count, this one going in fair. This one looks like it'll be in fair territory right in front of the Glacier Peak dugout, but it will fall foul. It'll fall right in top of the Glacier Peak dugout along the third base side. It is a full count with runners on second and third. Jackson with a chance to finish off this inning here, and Hunter with a chance to expand it. And Marysville Getchell, they also had their first state playoff team earlier this year in the girls soccer team, which won in the third place game. The Everett Herald covered it, the Seattle Times covered it, and they started back in 2009. And they lost in the first round of the state playoffs. And Jackson, the payoff pitch, a one-hopper, ball 3. The ball gets away from the catcher, Ethan Barker. Christian will say at second. Trey's not even trying, and is now bases loaded with 2 outs for Brandon Miller, who flew out to the right fielder, Scott Schaefer, to end the first. As once again, he is up at the plate with the bases loaded. Let's see if it'll be a way better result. First pitch by Jackson, low ball 1. Hit a 2-1 pitch to right field, and Scott Schaffer is able to get that one. Timeout by Glacier Peak. The catcher, Ethan Barker, talking to Jackson. And North Creek, they, as of right now, as of today, they have a record of 2 wins and 14 losses, which you can't really blame them for a few reasons. First, it's their first year as a school. So even if they were not in a pretty good conference, they weren't going to play that good. Second, it's the Kinko Conference. The Kinko 4A Conference, the toughest conference in the state. And the 1-0 low for a ball 2. As they were playing with teams such as Bothell, Woodinville surprisingly is not that really good. They also have a double-digit loss year. The 2-0 inside, ball 3 almost hits Brendan. And a pretty decent team in Bothell and a really good team in Newport. First time in a couple of years that they are up in the state rankings for 4A. 3-0, fastball right down the middle. No, ball 4. This one barely getting inside the strike zone, and it's a full count walk for Brendan Miller, and it's now 9-3 Glacier Peak. Timeout by Glacier Peak. The manager Bob Blair and the catcher Ethan Barker talking to the pitcher Jackson Swim, who looks like is back in a little bit of a slump after throwing a pretty good second inning. It'll be Bryce Mefford once again, the number 9 hitter. He started off the second inning with a ground out to the second baseman Rogers. And so it'll be bases loaded again. It'll be Christian at third, Hunter at second, and Brendan at first. As Bryce Mefford, the designated hitter, has a chance to, in a way, break this game wide open. They're down by 6, but it'll make the margin even closer. And Bryce, he enters this game 2 hits and 15 at-bats with a 133 batting average. He has scored 6 runs, with most of them being as a pinch runner. He has hit 1 double and he has been walked twice. First pitch by Jackson. Strike 1 looking. And the 0-1, Jackson the windup. Ground ball. That is caught by the pitcher. Swim to end the inning. A nice reflexes there by the pitcher to end the third. Lake Stevens, they get a run on the board. It is now 9-3 Glacier Peak. Jeez. 1 run on 1 hit, no errors, and once again 3 runners left on. Bailey Corley back on the mound in the third. And he'll face off against Ethan Barker, Peyton Smith, and Drew Brown. In the bottom of the third, it is now 9-3 Glacier Peak over Lake Stevens. And we are now back into the bottom of the third inning. Glacier Peak leading Lake Stevens now by the score of 9-3 after the Vikings tack one on to the top half of the third. Bailey Corley, the first pitch to the number 9 hitter Ethan Barker. Will be a ball 1, goes outside. Bailey had a pretty decent second inning, a 1-2-3, 5 balls on 8 strikes, 13 pitches, with a total of 10 balls, 14 strikes, and 24 pitches. The 1-0. This one a line shot to Christian at center, and he'll make the catch. As it'll be the third straight ball that will go straight to the senior center fielder. It'll bring us back to the top of the order for the third time around for the Grizz. It is Peyton Smith, who is 1 for 2 with a RBI single and a run scored. Bailey, first pitch. Swing and a miss. Strike 1 on the leadoff hitter. Bailey, the windup of the 0-1. Foul ball, it's the fence. Right in front of the booth, as right behind home plate and right behind the fence. So Bailey ahead of the count. Is looking pretty decent since filling in for Theron Perkins. And the 0-2, fly ball, that's foul, goes over the Glacier Peak dugout and right next to the JV stadium, or the JV ballpark, as I meant to say there. And Bailey, the windup in the 0-2. Hard hit ball, center field, Christian. He is right there, and he will make the catch again. This is the 6th time that a ball has been hit his way. And we are 2 2/3 into this inning. We are 2 2/3 innings into this game, and the ball has been hit 6 times to the senior center fielder, Christian LaPierre. And I'll bring up the center fielder, Drew Brown. 2 doubles, 2 RBIs, and a run scored. First pitch of ball 1. Getting past Trey Long, the catcher. And Bailey, the windup of the 1-0. Hard hit ball going to left field. Will that be fair? Yes, it will. It will land right near the left field foul line. Drew Brown has himself his 3rd double of the afternoon. A 2-out double off of Bailey Corley, and it'll bring up Jackson Swim. Currently online for the man of the hour for the boys in blue. Hit a 2-run home run in the bottom of the first. He was walked later in that inning on 5 pitches. And Bailey, the first pitch. Hard hit ball center field. Christian going back at it. Christian going back at the wall, making the catch as he runs towards the center field wall at the 385 mark. Another amazing play by the center fielder, Christian Lapierre. And another stellar inning by the junior Bailey Corley. 2 1/3 innings of, I almost said scoreless relief. He has 1 run under his name, but since then he has been pretty good. No runs on 1 hit, no errors, and 1 runner left on. It is still 9-3. Glacier Peak as Lake Stevens try to crawl back, as Jackson Swim will come back onto the mound in the 4th inning, facing off against Ben, Theron, and Trey, the 1-2-3 hitters. In the top of the 4th, Lake Stevens trails by 6. And we are now back into the top of the 4th inning. Glacier Peak leads by the score of 9-3. Jackson Swim back on the mound, facing off against the leadoff hitter Ben Pizer for the 3rd time this afternoon. He is 1 for 2 with a double and a run. Ground ball, this one going to the second baseman, Chase Rogers. Throw to first is in time. And on the first pitch, it equals the first out for Glacier Peak and Jackson Swim. Theron Perkins back up to the plate, 1 for 2 with a single, an RBI single in the first and a run scored. Hit a pretty hard hit fly ball into dead center field, but it was caught by Drew Brown. First pitch by Jackson, ground ball. This one getting into the hole in center field past a diving Chase Rogers. And Theron Perkins with his 2nd hit of the afternoon. And they'll bring up Trey Long. He is 0 for 1 with a fielder's choice and a walk. I'm counting it as a fielder's choice when Riley Parker tossed it to second to try and get Theron out. It's an error that moved Theron to second. Maybe I should say that's an error overall, and he's 6. And Trey waiting for the first pitch. That one a ground ball. This one again past the glove of Levingood and past the glove of Riley Parker. And there are runners on first and second. And in 3 pitches, it equals 1 out and a runner on first and second. That one they're going to say is an error on the 3rd baseman, Pierce Levingood, and Perkins will go to second. And Swim, he had a pretty rough 3rd inning, 17 balls on 11 strikes, 28 pitches for a total of 28 balls, 35 strikes on 63 pitches, allowing 1 run on 1 hit, no errors, and 3 runners left on for a total of 3 runs on 4 hits, 1 error, and 6 runners left on. Coming into the 4th inning. First pitch by Jackson to Will. Swing and a miss, strike 1. And Jackson looking over at Theron at second, doesn't throw. And another thing to mention about North Creek is that, and this is not just especially with North Creek, this is for any high school that's starting in their first year. They have no seniors, which means all the players that are playing for the team now will return next year. The 0-1, a fly ball deep in the center field. Drew Brown, he is looking for it right at the wall, makes the catch at the wall. Theron's going to go to third. Trey's going to go to second. The runners will advance. And another hard hit ball to center field, aided by the wind, and Drew Brown will once again be right near the 385 mark in dead center field to make the catch for the 2nd out. And there are runners on 2nd and 3rd for Christian Lapierre, who hit a single on the first pitch he saw in the 3rd inning. And the first pitch by Jackson. Swing and a miss, strike 1. And Jackson, the 0-1. 1 hopper, ball 1. Yeah, Jackson Swim, even though he's allowed 3 runs and is currently holding a 6-run lead, 63 pitches through 3 innings, with pitch totals of 25 pitches, down to 10, and then back up to 28, is not a good sign. And the 1-1. Chopper, this one landing in foul territory, as Jackson is ahead of the count, 1 ball and 2 strikes, runner on 2nd and 3rd. Christian struck out looking on 3 pitches back in the first and hit a single in the 3rd inning. And the 1-2 pitch outside, ball 2. Jackson now at 72 pitches through 3 2/3 innings. And it just comes to show that pitching is not Glacier Peak's strong suit. And the pitch, a foul grounder. This one hitting the fence. With the count staying at 2 balls and 2 strikes. And we saw the same problem with Friedman. With Jared Friedman throwing 86 pitches in 2 2/3. But for Glacier Peak, one thing to know about them is that their hitting makes up for it. The 2-2, outside, ball 3. And a full count, 3-2. One thing to mention about Glacier Peak is that when their pitching is not that really good, their hitting makes up for it. We saw it last year. It has happened in years past, and it looks like this is the case this year. The payoff pitch, a hard hit ball. This one going over the glove of Parker. Thayer going to score. Trey's going to score. That's going to go all the way to the wall. Christian's going to go to second. And it's a 2-run double for Christian LaPierre. It is 9-5. Glacier Peak. RBIs number 9 and 10 on the year for Christian. And the inning will continue. Tanner Lind, he is 0 for 1 with a walk and a fly out to left. As he looks to continue this pretty good 4th inning for Lake Stevens. Christian at second. And once again, more unearned runs for Jackson Swim. First pitch, ball 1. This is like almost freakishly similar to what we saw back on Wednesday. Jared Friedman, we said that he had, coming into his start, 22 runs and 14 earned. This guy, he's pitched 8 innings. He allowed 5 runs. 1 of them has been earned, and that's practically the same equivalent. And the 1-0 pitch, swing and a missed, strike 1. It's practically the same equivalent, you know. It's practically the same, only that Jared Freeman has pitched way more innings entering a start than Jackson Swim against the Vikings. Looking at second, the 1-1. Outside, ball 2. And Jackson, the 2-1. Inside, ball 3. As Jackson behind on the count for the first time in this inning, even though a lot of stuff has happened in this 4th inning already. 3-1, Jackson the pitch. Outside, ball 4. Tanner is walked for the 2nd time, and the Vikings have runners on 1st and 2nd with 2 outs. There is currently no one warming up in the bullpen. But knowing Glacier Peak, they brought a lot of people to come in when something goes awry. They have a lot of reserves. They've had that last year, and they're going to have it again this year. So anybody could be in the bullpen for Glacier Peak. Here's Hunter Zelasco, inside, ball 1. And the 1-0 by Jackson. Upstairs, ball 2. And Bob Blair has finally got someone in the bullpen. That is number 22, Zach Rodriguez. Timeout by Glacier Peak. Ethan Barker talking to Jackson Swim. What?
What do we got on the guy in the bullpen?
Never seen him before. He didn't ride with the team Wednesday, so he's from JV. Sorry if you heard that. It was getting some intel on the bullpen pitcher. And Jackson 2-0. Low, ball 3. Jackson now sitting at 83 pitches. He has thrown 20 pitches in this inning. And it doesn't look good from here. 3-0. Upstairs, ball 4 is ball 7 for Jackson Swim. And it's once again for the third time in the third inning, 3 of the 4 innings, the Vikings had the bases loaded. They have been all over Jackson Swim. Timeout by Glacier Peak. Bob Blair talking to Ethan Barker and Swim as they're both on the mound. And it looks like Zach Rodriguez just got in the bullpen for Glacier Peak, so they're not going to take him out immediately. But it looks like this might be the final meeting on the mound for the trio of Blair, Barker, and Swim, as Brendan Miller, for the second consecutive inning, will come up to the plate with the bases loaded. Or no, for the third consecutive time. He flew out to right field to Scott Schaefer to end the first inning, with Trey at third, Will at second, and Tanner at first. In the third inning, he was walked on 4 pitches on Swim, which I think is the reason why Bob Blair's going to talk to Jackson, is because he walked Brendan on 4 pitches his last time up. That was with Trey at third, Christian at second, and Hunter at first, and he was walked, so Trey scored. And now Brendan is back up at the plate with Christian at third, Tanner at second, and Hunter at first. And right now he is 0 for 1. And the game-tying run. Yes, we are at this point after Glacier Peak scored 9 in the first. The game-tying run is at first base in Hunter Zalasko.
Let's go, Mills, homie! Keep it rolling down, Mills, oh baby!
It's both Zach Rodriguez and Grant Doman, who was warming up Wednesday. First pitch, inside, ball 1. Hey, Bryce. How you doing there? Having a little fun over here. Ball 2. Bryce Medford, the on-deck hitter, is having trouble with trying to take the weight off of his bat. He had his trouble last time. The 2-0. Ground ball. This one getting past Whip into the hole in center field. Off the glove of Rogers. 1 run's going to score. Tanner's going to go. The throw home is not in time. It's a 2-run single for Brendan Miller. It is now Glacier Peak 9. Lake Stevens 7. An unbelievable turn of events in this inning, especially as Lake Stevens came into this game. They were down 9-3. Now they are down to 9-7.
Maybe he'll get a hit with a different bat.
Hey, let's go, Brian!
Christian's going to score from third. Tanner is going to score from second. Hunter is going to stay. Hunter's going to go to second. He's not going to go to third, as that ball, it was fielded in short center field. Chase Rogers tried to field it, so it's going to be a base hit. And it'll bring up Bryce Medford again, who was 0 for 2. Last time he was up was a nice play by the pitcher Swim to end the inning as he caught a hard liner right near the mound. This one, a hard hit ball, going to left field. Peyton Smith is under it and will make the catch for the third out. But Lake Stevens, they had a huge 4th inning that consisted of 4 runs on 3 hits, 1 error, and 2 runners left on. It wasn't an RBI single, it was an RBI double, a 2-run single for Brendan Miller. As Lake Stevens scores 4 runs in that top of the 4th, and now trail by the score of 9-7. Bailey Corley back on the mound with a little mojo after what Lake Stevens pulled off in the top half of the 4th. He'll face off against the bottom half of the order of Pierce Levengood, Riley Parker, and Scott Schaefer. And we are now back in the bottom of the 4th. Bailey Corley back on the mound, facing off against the third baseman Pierce Levengood, who is 1 for 1 with a single and a run scored and hit a sacrifice fly, both in the first inning. Bailey Corley doing a really good job, allowing one run to his name in 2 1/3. This one, a hard hit ball to right field. Tanner Lind going back. It's Landon LaPierre. This one's going back. It's going to fall to the wall. Levengood's going to go to second, and is going to stay there with a leadoff double. This one, a pretty high-scoring game so far through 3.5. Lake Stevens, they trail. Oh, now they're going to say, oh no, they're going to say it's a 2. They're going to say it's a double. So Levengood moved towards the third base coach. Manager Bob Blair thought I missed something. I thought it was a home run. And so Glacier Peak with a runner at second to bring up Riley Parker, who is 1 for 2 with a run scored. And Bailey, the windup of the first pitch, tries to bunt for it. This one rolls along the first base line. Bailey's going to pick it up. Throw to first, he'll hit Riley Parker. Pierce is going to score, and Glacier Peak has double digits. That one was a perfect bunt. It rolled along the first base side. Bailey Corley picked it up, tried to throw it to Will while trying to get it past Riley Parker, but it'll end up hitting Riley on the back as he was running towards first. And he will go to second. It is now a 10-7 Glacier Peak lead. And there is Bailey Corley, a timeout by Lake Stevens. And the Grizzlies have a runner on second still for Scott Schaefer, who is 1 for 2. And they're going to bring in Jacob Gordon. A nice job by Bailey Corley in his outing. As we'll take a quick break here, bottom of the fourth. It's Glacier Peak 10, Lake Stevens 7. No outs, runner on second, as Jacob Gordon will face off against Scott Schaefer. And we are now back into the bottom of the fourth inning. Glacier Peak, they got a run on the board already, and they lead by the score of 10-7, their first run since that 9-run first inning. The Vikings bring in their third pitcher, number 18, Jacob Gordon, who will face off against Scott Schaefer. And Jacob, the first pitch. Upstairs, ball 1. Bailey Corley, 2 1/3 innings, 4 hits, allowing 2 runs, 1 of them earned, 1 walk, and no strikeouts on 34 pitches. In relief. And Scott Schaffer, he is 1 for 2 with a single and a run scored, and grounded out to the shortstop, Hunter Zalesko, in the 1-0. Hard hit ball going to center. Christian going back. It's going back a little bit, and it gets over the glove of Christian LaPierre as it goes all the way to the wall. Riley Parker's going to score from second, and it'll be an RBI double for Scott Schaefer. It is now 11-7. Christian LaPierre, he underestimated how far that ball was going to fly, and it ended up going over his glove. There'll be 2 unearned runs towards Bailey. 1 will be earned, the 3 runs total. And it'll bring up Aiden Ferry, who is 0 for 1. With a bases loaded walk and a fly out to center. And Jacob, the first pitch. Strike 1, looking a nasty curveball by the senior Jacob Gordon. He is making his 8th appearance. He is 0-1 with an ERA of 3.07. He was credited with the loss in yesterday's game against Arlington. He has thrown 9 1/3 innings, allowing 10 hits, 4 earned runs, walking 2, striking out 9. And the 0-1 upstairs and inside, ball 1. And Jacob, the 1-1. Low, ball 2. Going under the strike zone. And Jacob looking over towards Schaefer at second. The 2-1. Low for a ball 3. A ball roll away from the catcher Trey Long right in front of home plate. Bailey Corley had a pretty good third inning as well. 2 balls, 7 strikes on 9 pitches. After 3, he had a total of 12 balls, so 21 strikes for 31 pitches. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, and 1 runner left on, with a total of 9 runs on 8 hits, 1 error, and 3 runners left on. And the 3-1 pitch. Strike 2, looking a full count for Jacob Gordon on the second batter he sees. So Scott Schaefer, one or the other, has RBI number 20 on the year. One of the leaders, one of the top of 4A, and the payoff pitch, strike 3 called. A fastball right down the middle, and Aiden Ferry didn't like that one. He should have swung at it, was his first thought. And it'll bring up Chase Rogers, who is 0 for 1. Got on base on an error by the third baseman, Tate Bruss, and then flew out to the center fielder, Christian LaPierre. And Jacob, the first pitch. Foul ball. This will hit the fence behind home plate. And it's the first strikeout of a Glacier Peak batter this afternoon. And Schaffer, he leads Wesco 4A in RBIs, or is one of the league leaders in RBIs. He now has 20. Jack Stewart leads Wesco 3A North in RBIs with 21, in addition to his 3 home runs. And the 0-1 pitch. Jacob looking at second towards Scott Schaffer in the 0-1. Fly ball. That one going into short left field. Ben running for it. Hunter running for it. That's going to fall. Schaffer will stay at second. And it'll be a 1-out single. Runners on first and second for Ethan Barker.
Pitcher number 1,
Ethan Barker, he was walked with a full count in the first inning, giving him his 4th RBI of the year, and it was the last straw for him. That was the last straw for Theron Perkins, as Josh White took him out for Bailey Corley, and he flew out to center field to start the 3rd inning. And the first pitch, strike 1 looking. This one hitting the bottom part of the strike zone. And Jacob, the 0-1. It'll be a foul check swing. This one fielded by Snake. Gets in and out of his glove. The throw to first is in time, and he gets him for the 2nd out. A nice heads-up play by the senior, Jacob Gordon. The runners will advance, though, as it'll be Schaefer at 3rd, Rogers at 2nd. Wasn't a sacrifice bunt. He tried swinging that one, but it'll bring us back to the top of the order for the 4th time around, as Josh White will go back up to the mound. As Smith is 1 for 3 with an RBI single and a run scored. Josh White, in the past few games, he has been using the strategy of using a few pitchers for only a certain amount of time, using them for only a 1/3 of an inning, using them only for 2/3 of an inning, whatever the case may be. It doesn't look like that might be the case now, but the fact that he's talking to Jacob Gordon after he got 2 outs says something. And again, Peyton Smith, he flew out to center field twice in the 1st inning and in the 3rd inning. Flew out to the center fielder, Christian LaPierre, to start the 3rd, and then he flew out to the center fielder again in the 3rd, hit an RBI single later in that 1st inning. On the first pitch he saw, and he later scored. In that 14-batter 1st inning. And the first pitch by Jacob, fly ball center field. Speaking of LaPierre, this one going back. Christian LaPierre making the catch right near the wall. LaPierre doing his duty again. 2 runs will score to end the 4th. 2 runs on 3 hits, 1 error, and 2 runners left on. The Grizzlies hack a couple more. It is now 11-7 Glacier Peak over the Vikings in this hitter-friendly series. And Jackson Swim back on the mound in the 5th. He'll face off against Ben, Theron, and Trey again, as the Vikings this time are down by 4 runs. And we are now back into the top of the 5th inning. It is Lake Stevens trailing Glacier Peak now by the score of 11-7. And a new pitcher for the Glacier Peak Grizzlies, that is number 2, Grant Doman, making his 3rd appearance of the year. First pitch, a ball 1. Grant Doman, no wins and no losses with an ERA of 0. He has only thrown 3 innings, allowing 1 hit, no earned runs, walking 4 batters, and striking out 4 batters. And the 1-0 by Grant. Inside, ball 2. Jackson Swim, 4 innings, with a total of 7 runs. Jeez, it's tough to say how many of these have been earned. 1, 2, only 2 of those 7 runs are earned. And the 2-0 pitch outside, ball 3. Allowing 7 hits, walking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 batters, and striking out 2 on 88 pitches. And the 3-0 is strike 1 right down the middle, as it was between Grant Doman and Rodriguez, and Rodriguez is also another pitcher who hasn't played that much for Glacier Peak. He's only played in 3 games. And the 3-1 pitch outside. Ball 4, Lake Stevens starting off the top of the 5th with a leadoff walk. As the second batter, Zach Rodriguez, no wins, no losses, ERA of 2.62 in 3 games. And it'll bring up Theron Perkins, who's having a pretty good afternoon. He's been having a pretty good week in general. He is 2 for 3 with 2 runs scored and an RBI. Throw to first, not in time, barely. Not getting Ben Pizer. It was a nice throw by Grant Doman the first, but it will not get him. So 3 innings, total of 1 hit, no earned runs, walking 4 batters, and striking out 4 batters. Throw to first, not in time, another close play. Very similar to what we've seen last week. It was Monroe's relief pitcher, Ryan Lynch, had to throw to first as fast. And this one, a fly ball, that's foul. And the first pitch to Grant, and no 1 count. And Theron Perkins, a pretty good job. Of getting the ball in play, especially in the past few weeks. Fly ball, this one going into short center field. The center fielder, Drew Brown, making the catch. Throwing to first to try and get Ben is not in time. And a nice running play by the center fielder, Drew Brown. He ran into no man's land between shortstop, left field, and center field to make the catch. His hat falling off in the process for the first out. That is a play in which 9 out of 10 times that ball is going to fall, but the speed of Drew Brown got it from the last center fielder for Glacier Peak, Colton Bunn, who is now playing football for Central Washington. Now we have Trey Long, first pitch. Hard hit ball, left field, straight to Peyton Smith, the left fielder, for a second out. The sound of the bat made it sound promising. It made it sound promising, but it'll go straight to the left fielder, Peyton Smith. And that'll bring up Will Wentz, who is 1 for 3 with an RBI single and flew out the center field twice. And the first pitch, Ben goes. Throw to second for Ethan Barker, and it will not get him in time. Ben Pizer with stolen base number 6 on the year. That one outside for a ball 1. And now it looks like the wind has died down. It's been blowing towards center field, left center field. Oh no, right center field. It's been blowing towards right center field for most of the game. And now for the first time in a while, it looks like it's died down a little bit. The 1-0. Ball 2. That one gets past Barker. The catcher not able to throw to third. And in 2 pitches, Pizer is from first to third. And the 2-0 by Grant. Outside, ball 3. On deck is Christian LaPierre, one of the top stars of Lake Stevens in this game. 2 for 3 with a double, 2 RBIs, and a run scored for the Vikings. The 3-0 by Grant. Strike 1 looking right down the middle. That one barely hitting the bottom part of the strike zone. Now it's number 55, Noah Stingley. The 3-1 fly ball foul as Grant makes it a full count. Is Stingley spelled S-T-I-N-G-I-L-Y. That is who is in the bullpen right now and who might pitch for Grant Doman. And the payoff pitch by Grant Doman. Strike 3 called and a nasty pitch to end the 5th. As Jackson Swim now plays for first, and a nasty pitch to end the top of the first and to leave a runner at third. No runs, no hits, no errors, 1 runner left on, as Jacob Gordon will come back onto the mound in the bottom of the 5th, facing off against Drew Brown, Jackson Swim, and Pierce Levengood. 11-7, Glacier Peak. And we are now back into the bottom of the 5th inning. Glacier Peak leading Lake Stevens by the score of 11-7. Drew Brown, 3 for 3, with all 3 hits being 2-baggers, and this is the first time he is up against Jacob Gordon, see if he can get a fourth one. And among those 3 doubles, he has a run scored, and he has got 2 RBIs under his name this afternoon. Jacob Gordon, 4 balls on 9 strikes and 13 pitches as he faced off against 5 batters. First pitch inside, ball 1. And in that inning, a total of 2 runs on 3 hits, 1 error, and 2 runners left on. A total of 11 runs on 12 hits, 2 errors, and 5 runners left on. A ground ball, this one barely getting foul, as Theron Perkins wasn't able to get that one. And the 1-1 by Gordon. And a nice pitch trying the curveball, ball 2. And so it was Zach Rodriguez earlier, but it doesn't look like that. You know, he's going to be warming up in the bullpen. It's only 1 pitcher, and once again, that is Noah Stingley, number 55. The 2-1, low for a ball 3, and gets away from Trey Long. So Jackson Swim, I forgot to mention this, defensive change. Jackson Swim now playing first base for Aiden Ferry. And he is on deck. So it'll be Drew Brown, Jackson Swim, and Pierce Levengood. First time around against Snake. And the 3-1 by Gordon. Foul ball. This hits the fence. And Jacob makes it a full count. And Brown doing a pretty good job of staying alive in the at-bat. Payoff pitch. Line shot. This one going in the right center. And it'll be a leadoff single for Drew Brown. He is 4 for 4. And that'll bring up Jackson Swim. 2-run home run. Started it all in the first. And Glacier Peak, in a way, they have never looked back because they still have the lead. Jackson Swim, 1 for 2 with a 2-run homer and a fly ball to center. First pitch, inside, ball 1. Wind's coming back a little bit. This time it's blowing once again towards right field, more towards right field. It is Noah Stingley, who is in the bullpen, and Matt Odell, number 32, is the bullpen catcher. This one, a line shot past the left field line for a foul ball. 1 ball and 1 strike. Number 32, Matt Odell, the bullpen catcher for Glacier Peak. Both of these teams, they have pretty tough series after this game. Throw to first, not in time. But the good news is that for both teams, they can show their poise, and hitting-wise especially. They both a pretty high-scoring affair. And the 1-1. Hard hit ball left field. Ben doesn't have to move anywhere to get that one. And he'll get him for the first out. Drew Brown will stay at first base. And another thing that some people don't really look at is that when the season is over, when teams look at the standings and there are teams that are tied for second place, for example, there'll be people who will have to look, the coaches would have to look at how many runs both those teams scored in the 2 games they faced off against each other. If the series was split, then that would be the case. If one team swept the other team, then the team that swept the opponent would be obviously first. First pitch is a ball 1. And we're getting a little mini sandstorm here from the other baseball fields rolling onto this one. This one to Pierce Levengood, who was 2 for 2 with 2 runs, an RBI, and a double. Jacob looking over at first to Drew Brown. And the first pitch, Brown. It'll be a strike 1 looking, and Brown looked like he was going to go to second. Ball gets in and out of the glove of Trey Long. He wasn't able to throw him out. But luckily, Drew Brown will stay at first, and it's a 1-1 count. And Jacob at first base. First base looking at Drew. Throw to first, not in time. And the reason why I mentioned the run differential when it comes to when teams are split is because this is a series where this would be a perfect example. Again, Lake Stevens beat Glacier Peak by the score of 16-4. Not 16-2. I said 16-2 earlier. 1-1 outside for a ball 2. And so if you would add those up with the current score now, which is Glacier Peak leading Lake Stevens 11-7, then Lake Stevens would lead 23? Yeah, 23-15, which means if Glacier Peak would win the game, they would still be ahead of the Grizzlies in the standings. Ball 3, 3-1 count. So really, now really all Lake Stevens has to do is to prevent Glacier Peak from scoring, 8 runs to take the lead in run differential in the series. The 3-1 fly ball foul. Drew Brown was running for second, and it will be another full count for Jacob Gordon, the second one of this inning. This is the second one of this inning, the third one overall. He had one against Aiden Ferry in the fourth. He struck him out looking, and then he had one against Drew Brown. He's currently at first base on a single. Throw to first, not in time. And so it's Lake Stevens currently leading Glacier Peak in run differential 23-15. Again, a very hitters-friendly series between these two teams. They're both very well known for their hitting and their moderate pitching. Throw to first, not in time. Jacob Gordon trying to get into the mind of Drew Brown there, but doesn't look like he's budging after he threw to first base for a good 5 or 6 times. And so when Lake Stevens is tied with Glacier Peak in the standings come season's end, that will be huge. Payoff pitch, Drew Brown runs again, and it'll be another foul ball. So I said Jacob Gordon, 13 pitches in the fourth, and the total for Glacier Peak, 11 runs, 12 hits, 2 errors for Lake Stevens, and 5 runners left on for the Grizzlies. There's another full count. Snake steps off the mound. And Jacob Gordon, the payoff. Hard hit ball going to right. Tanner going back. Tanner Land looking up, and it will get off the scoreboard. And Pierce Levingood with a 2-run home run. As it looks like Pierce Levingood is blasting off again his second home run of the year. It is now 13-7. Glacier Peak, RBI is number 8 and 9. And Levingood, after the ball hit the scoreboard, giving up, pumping his fists as he was running around first base. And Glacier Peak now with a 6-run lead in the bottom of the 5th inning. Timeout by Lake Stevens. Trey Long talking to Jacob to get him out of the funk. They still have 1 out. It'll be Riley Parker who will come up to the plate. It is 1 for 2 with 2 runs scored in this game. Glacier Peak, it's their batters. All 9 runners have scored, and they were all in the first inning. So it's really hard to say exactly who is the best hitter and who is the worst one. First pitch, a curveball, strike 1 looking. And the 0-1, fly ball, that is looking like it's going towards foul territory, and it will hit the trees right next to the batting cages for Glacier Peak. And Jacob ahead of the count. No balls and 2 strikes. Glacier Peak, we've seen this in the past couple of years, which is that Glacier Peak, they have been known for their hitting, like I said, but not only are they known for their hitting, they are known for their home run hitting. Colton Bunt, who was the starting center fielder last year, had a state-high 8 homers. And the 0-2 pitch, a foul ball, hitting the fence of the Glacier Peak softball fields. No balls and 2 strikes. As it was Colton Bunt who had 8 home runs. Brandon West, their cleanup hitter, hit, I think it was 1 home run, and it was against Lake Stevens. And the 0-2. Line drive shot in the left center field. Christian running forward. He can't get there. It'll get off of the wall as Riley will go to second. Riley's now going to go to third. Hunter, the throw to third. Not in time. Riley Parker has a triple. And the fifth inning will continue with hit number 15 for the Glacier Peak Grizzlies. And a timeout by Lake Stevens again. Josh White might take Gordon out of the game here. Might take him out, and they will. And they're going to bring in Xander Fogel, number 32. They'll take a quick break here in the fifth inning. One out and a runner on third base. Glacier Peak now leading Lake Stevens by the score of 13-7 in this high-scoring affair. We'll be right back. You are listening to Lake Stevens Vikings Varsity Baseball. And we are now back. We are now back into the bottom of the fifth inning after a two-run home run by Pierce Levengood that hits off the scoreboard in right field. It'll now be a new pitcher for the Lake Stevens Vikings. That'll be number 32, Xander Fogel. And he's facing off against Scott Schaffer, who is 2 for 3 with an RBI double in the fourth. Fogel, the sophomore, 2 wins, no losses, an ERA of 2.69. The 0-1, a one-hopper, gets past Trey. The throw home is not in time, and Riley Parker will score the 14th run. The 14th run for the Glacier Peak Grizzlies. So it'll be a ball 1, 1 ball and 1 strike. And the 1-1 pitch, low for a ball 2. Xander Fogel, 5 2/3. 5 hits, 2 earned runs, no walks, and 4 Ks. Both earned runs were in his last outing against Monroe, in which he got lit up and couldn't record an out. This one, a ground ball to Hunter. This one, Hunter throwing to first, getting him for the second out. And Hunter Zalesko throwing to first to get Schaffer out for the second time this afternoon. Brings up Aiden Ferry. No, not Aiden Ferry. It'll bring up number 2, Grant Doman. As he'll be pinch hitting for the first baseman, Aiden Ferry. And the first pitch, a strike one looking, Jacob Gordon. As he threw 33 pitches, only throwing 1 full inning. And the fly ball, this one going into short left center field. Zalesko calling for it. Zalesko making a diving grab in short left center field. What a play by the sophomore. Hunter Zalesko, he couldn't find the baseball. He's moving every which way he possibly can, and he makes a diving play to end the fifth inning. It is 3 runs on 3 hits, no errors, and no runners left on, highlighted by a 2-run shot off the scoreboard by the third baseman, Pierce Levengood. And the score now, Glacier Peak 14, Lake Stevens 7. And it looks like it'll be Grant Doman who will be back on the mound in the 6th, facing off against Christian LaPierre, Tanner Lind, and Hunter Zalesko, as they'll try to make this a ball game again. Top of the 6th, Glacier Peak 14, Lake Stevens 7. And we are now back into the top of the 6th inning. Glacier Peak now leads by the score of 14-7 to the Lake Stevens Vikings. Grant Doman back on the mound against Christian LaPierre. He is 2 for 3 with a 2-run double and a run scored. First pitch upstairs, ball 1. Grant Doman had a pretty good fifth inning in his first inning in relief. 7 balls, 7 strikes for 14 pitches, leaving a runner on. The 1-0 pitch, ball 2. And the 2-0 pitch, a fly ball, and that one's going to go in the right field. That is going to land in fair territory, right near the line. Christian LaPierre is going to stay at second, and it'll be a leadoff double for Christian LaPierre. Have a day to the senior center fielder, as he has his second double of the afternoon. Now bring up Tanner Lind, who is 0 for 1, has been walked a couple times. and got a run out of one of them back in the 4-run fourth inning they had. And the first pitch from Grant, fly ball, that's a foul, going over the Glacier Peak bleachers along the first base side, an 0-1 count. He was walked in the first, stranded at first base. He flew out to left, and he was walked in the fourth and later scored on a 2-run single by Brendan Miller. And the 0-1, the ball one goes inside. And the 1-1, hard hit ball going into left center field. Christian's running around third. That one's going to go to the wall. Tanner's going to second. The throw to second is not in time. It's an RBI double for Tanner Lind. And in the first two batters already, the Vikings cut the deficit to 6. 14-8 on two straight doubles.
Let's go, baby.
And they'll bring up Hunter Now I just want to screw up his name just because. He just corrected me on that. Hunter Zalasko, 0 for 1. He's been walked a couple times, and both times he's been walked, he's been stranded at second. First pitch by Grant. Hard hit ball going in the right field. Schaefer is right there, will make the catch. Tanner's going to stay at second. And Tanner stays at second just in time as the shortstop Riley Parker almost catches him off guard. And that'll be the first out of the 6th inning. And that'll bring up Brendan Miller. He had a 2-run single in the 4th. He is 1 for 2 with 3 RBIs. Brings the season total up to 9 this season. And Grant the first pitch. Strike one looking. Brandon Miller, he flew out to right to end the first. He was walked in the third, and he hit a 2-run single in the 4th. And the 0-1 pitch, low and outside to the catcher, Ethan Barker, for a ball one. And the 1-1 by Grant. Tanner's going to go. Strike two looking, and Tanner will steal third. His 10th stolen base of the season. And he has a chance to get his 4th RBI of the afternoon here with one swing. 1 and 2. Inside, Miller had the duck for that one. It'll be 2 balls and 2 strikes. And the Lake Stevens dugout trying to hype up Brandon. And the windup and the 2-2 by Doman. Strike 3 called, and a nice pitch, and Miller doesn't think that one was a strike. That's the second out of the 6. And it'll bring up the number 9 hitter, Bryce Mefford. He is 0 for 3. It is Bryce, it is Trey, and it is Hunter Zalesko, who are one of 3 batters that does not have a hit. First pitch, a strike one looking. A nice pitch by Doman on the first one. And the 0-1. Check swing, low for a ball one.
Work that kid on man. Go be right on down, kid. Let's go.
And Doman, the windup in the 1-1. Strike 2 looking. That one just hitting the outside. Part of the strike zone. Bryce stepping away from the batter's box, thinking that's no way that's a strike. Gets back in there in the nick of time. Tanner Lind at third base. Timeout by Bryce. Has a chance to knock in another run on the board for the Vikings here in the top of the 6th. And the 1-2. Check swing. Did he go? He did not. Ball 2. Nice job by Bryce to not move the bat in. I forgot how to say it. 2-2 by Grant. Swing and a miss, strike 3 to end the top of the 6th. The Vikings get a run on the board, though. It is strikeout number 3 for Doman. 1 run on 2 hits, no errors, 1 runner left on. The Vikings get 1 on the board. The score is Glacier Peak 14, Lake Stevens 8. Let's go into the bottom of the 6th inning. It'll be Xander Fogle back on the mound, facing off against the 8-9-1 hitters of Chase Rogers, Ethan Barker, and Peyton Smith, as the Grizzlies are up by 6. And we are now back into the bottom of the 6th inning. Glacier Peak leading Lake Stevens 14-8. Xander Fogle back on the mound for the Vikings against Chase Rogers, who is 1 for 2 with a run scored. Let's face it, all of them have at least 1 run. First pitch, a chopper. This one getting into the glove of the third baseman, Theron Perkins, who throws to first. And we'll get Rogers out on the first pitch in time. For the first out of the 6th, brings up Ethan Barker, who is 0 for 2. And for the Glacier Peak batters that don't have a hit, it is Ethan Barker, Aiden Ferry. I think that's it. Yeah, and Aiden Ferry, and those are the 2 Glacier Peak batters. First pitch, it'll be a ball 1, just hits the top part of the strike zone. And the 2 batters that Xander Fogle faced in the 5th, he threw 2 balls for 5 strikes and 7 pitches. And the 1-0 by Xander. Low for a ball 2. Is 3 runs on 3 hits, no errors, and nobody left on, for a total of 14 runs on 15 hits, 2 errors, and 5 runners left on. And the windup in the 2-0. Low for a ball 3. As the sophomore is behind on the count, gets the sign from Trey. The windup in the 3-0. Strike 1 looking right down the middle to the catcher Barker. And number 55, Noah Stingley, still in the bullpen, might pitch the 7th to try and close this one out. And the 3-1. Fly ball, this one going into right center field. Tanner running for it, Christian running for it, and a nice running catch by the right fielder, Tanner Lynn, for the second out of the 6th inning. And it'll bring us back to the top of the order for the 5th time around in Peyton Smith. He is 1 for 4 with an RBI single and a run scored. And the 3 times he got out were all fly balls to the center fielder, Christian LaPierre. So place your bets, folks. There's a pretty good chance it might go to him again. First pitch, a line drive shot. This one going into left field. If you already placed your bets, well, it's already too late. I get all your money. It's a 2-out single. Sorry, that's how the house works. It's a 2-out single for Peyton Smith. Brings up the number 2 hitter, Peyton Brown. 4 for 4, 2 RBIs, 2 runs, and 3 doubles. Have a day already for the center fielder. First time around against Xander. First pitch. Outside ball 1. And Lake Stevens, they have a really tough task to go. And runner goes. Trey throws to second. Does he get him? No, he does not. It's a stolen base for Peyton Smith. He now has a team-leading 3rd. There's outside for a ball 2. Glacier Peak, that is also something peculiar and unique about this team, is that they're not known as a stolen base team. Entering this game, Glacier Peak has only stolen 6 bases. That was their 7th. And Peyton Smith has 3 of them. That's according to Max Preps. The 2-0, ball 3. And Glacier Peak with another runner in scoring position. And the 3-0 by Xander Fogle, and that one will land on top of the fence above the dugout, 3-1. Xander behind on the count, 3 balls, 1 strike. Peyton Smith at second steps off the mound. So Glacier Peak will play Monroe, who's currently playing, if I remember correctly, no. Yeah, Jackson and Monroe are playing against each other, so Glacier Peak's going to play Monroe, and Lake Stevens is going to play Jackson. Xander looking over at second. try and get Peyton over there. And Xander getting the sign from Trey Long. And the 3-1. Curveball outside. I guess that one was a ball 3. It was actually a 2-1 count the whole time. Or was it actually a full count? I think that was actually a full count. That was called a strike. So now it's a full count, 3-2. And Xander looking over at second, throws not in time. I guess that pitch was a strike that Trey threw to second to try and get Peyton Smith. So now it's a full count, 3-2. With a chance for Xander to finish off the bottom of the 6th. Xander, the windup and the throw. Low for a ball 4, Glacier Peak. Gets another base runner. Now bring up Jackson Swim. At the game's beginning, it looked like he might be the player of the game with a 2-run homer. But ever since then, his bat has been pretty quiet. He was walked later in that first inning. He flew out to Christian in the 3rd, and then he flew out to Ben, or he lined out to Ben in the 5th before Pierce Levingood hit a 2-run shot. Fly ball, that's playable. This one's staying in the infield. Brendan Miller, the second baseman, under it, and he will make the catch to end the 6th. No runs on 1 hit, no errors, and 2 runners left on. Lake Stevens, they have a daunting task to try and follow. They are down by 6 runs. They need 6 to tie it, 7 to take the lead in the top of the 7th inning against Grant Doman. And Doman will face off against the leadoff hitters Ben Pizer, Theron Perkins, and Trey Long in the 7th inning to try and close this game out. Score, Glacier Peak 14, Lake Stevens 8. And we are now back at the top of the 7th inning. Lake Stevens, they are down by 6. They need 6. They need 6 runs to tie, and they need 7 runs to take the lead. They are down 14-8. And the first pitch from Grant Doman to Ben Pizer is a ball 1. This one, a line shot, going to the second baseman Rogers. Throw to first is in time, barely gets him. And gets into the glove of the first baseman, Jackson Swim, for the first out. That ball was fielded in short left center, but it was just enough time for the second baseman, Chase Rogers, to pick up that ball and throw it to the first baseman, Jackson Swim. Here's Theron Perkins, who is 2 for 4. Strike 1 looking. Grant Doman has been pretty good in relief, especially in the 6th. 7 balls, 10 strikes for 17 pitches, a total of 14 balls, 17 strikes, and 31 pitches. A fly ball, that is foul. Barely getting foul. We got no balls and 2 strikes. In that inning, it was 1 run on 2 hits, no errors, and 1 runner left on, and a total of 8 runs on 9 hits, 2 errors, and 10 runners left on. And Grant ahead of the count on Theron Perkins, and it's a 1-hopper to the catcher, Ethan Barker.
I like it a lot.
Relax, kid, relax.
Here we go.
Simple.
Grant ahead of the count, 1-2. Ground ball, this one gets past Pierce Levingood and into left field. Have a day, Theron Perkins, hit number 3 on the afternoon. And if history states, if we go by history here, the last 2 times that Theron has hit a single, he has scored, which means something is going to happen in this inning. And it'll continue with Trey Long, who is 0 for 1. He got on base twice on an error, got on base once on a walk, and flew out to left. First pitch, a strike 1 looking, a nasty pitch by Doman. Grant looking over at Theron at first base, and the 0-1. And this will go inside, and that one almost hits Trey as he moves away from home plate for that one. It gives Grant Doman the dirty eye before he gets into his stance. And the 1-1. Low for a ball 2. It was after he came in. It was just keep giving him the stink eye over there. It's after that one pitch on the inside that almost hit him. He's looking at Grant like, come on. Come on. 2 balls and 1 strike. Strike 2 looking. And Theron will steal second on the stolen base, as the Vikings have a runner in scoring position, and it is the 4th stolen base of the year for Theron. Grant ahead of the count, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Theron going, line shot, gets past the glove of a diving Riley Parker. Theron's going to score. And Trey Long with an RBI single is now 14-9. If that ball got into the glove of Riley Parker, that would have been game. Trey already had to lead the 3rd. He would have tossed it to Chase Rogers at 2nd. That would have been it. Would have been a bittersweet way to end, but fortunately, that's not how this game is going to end. And here is Will Wentz, who is 1 for 4 with an RBI single in the 1st. Inside, Trey going to 2nd, and Trey has himself a stolen bag, his 6th of the year. That one inside for a ball 1.
Let's go, Will.
And Grant, the windup of the 1-0. Outside, ball 2. And the 2-0. Strike 1 looking on Will. And Lake Stevens, they're bringing back some magic they had early in the year where they would have a lot of power. At first, it was just late in the game, and they're trying to get that back here. Well, it also looks like they might show some promise against Jackson. And the 2-1 pitch, swing, and a missed strike 2. As Grant makes Will swing on that one, 2 balls and 2 strikes. There's also RBI number 9 on the year for Trey. And the 2-2, foul ball. Will getting a piece of that one and stays alive in the at-bat. And Grant 2-2. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Grant gets Will swinging for the 2nd out. 2nd time against Grant. It's the 2nd time around against Grant Doman, and it's the 2nd time that Grant makes him swing. Here's Christian LaPierre, 3 for 4 with 2 doubles, 2 RBIs, and 2 runs. And the first pitch by Doman, outside, ball 1. Trey Long at 2nd. Trey going to 2nd. Does he get him? No, he doesn't. That could not have been any closer. Riley Parker by a millisecond. No, even smaller than that. I think Josh White has a word for that because he's the chemistry teacher. He has a word for that. That is, I'm pretty sure, nanometers short. That is so small. That was the closest that you'll ever see a guy stay safe at 2nd. Wow. Ball 2. Grant behind the count, 2-0. Strike 1 looking. Curveball, bottom part of the strike zone outside. Lake Stevens, their 10th run in scoring position, 2-1. And Christian for the No, Christian got hit, and they're saying he was leaning in the box. And Christian, he gets hit. And the home plate umpire is saying that he was leaning in. Christian slamming his helmet after hearing about the result, and Josh White's going to talk to the home plate umpire. So they're going to say that is a strike, 2 balls and 2 strikes, and this is a really tough call to make. It's the first time, actually, since 2014 that call has happened against Lake Stevens, where a batter was hit, but it was called back because he leaned in. And that was a guy who played for Lake Stevens. His name was Cody Vagorin. And about a couple of pitches later, he got himself a single. So what we all thought was his team leading 7th time and that he's been hit now turns into a strike, and Grant's ahead of the count. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Christian doesn't like that. Oh no, now they're saying that was a dead pitch. That was a dead ball. Oh, that was a ball. The scoreboard said 2-2, but it was actually 3-1, and now it is 3-2, full count with 2 outs. Christian, the last hope for the Vikings. Payoff, fly ball, that's playable. Going to the short left field. Peyton Brown is under it. Peyton Brown, he can't make the catch. Trey Long, he will be going. He will score. Christian tries to go to second and is picked off at second, and the game is over. There was miscommunication between the left fielder, Peyton Brown, and the shortstop, Riley Parker, and the ball will fall. It'll be an RBI single for Christian. Trey's going to score. Christian, for some, I don't know why, he tries going to second and is picked off. And that will be the end of the inning and the end of the game. Trey will score. It'll be an RBI towards Christian. And a weird way to end the game right there. The final score, Glacier Peak 14, Lake Stevens 10. Both teams now, Glacier Peak now with a 7-5 conference record. Lake Stevens down back to a 500 conference record of 6-6. Glacier Peak now with a 500 record overall through 18 games with 9 wins and 9 losses. Lake Stevens, the first time in 2 years that they are down to double-digit losses. They now have 7 wins and 10 losses. Lake Stevens are going to have to play their final conference series against the Jackson Timberwolves starting on April 30th, while the Glacier Peak Grizzlies will play their final conference series at Monroe High School against the Bearcats. Again, the final score, Glacier Peak 14, Lake Stevens 10. A truly exciting ball game with Glacier Peak getting 16 hits, 2 of them on home runs by Jackson Swim and Pierce Levengood, and Lake Stevens getting 11 hits, 2 errors each. The winning pitcher is Jackson Swim, although a pretty ugly outing. He does get the win in the end, while the losing pitcher is Theron Perkins, who is 0-1. My name is Payne Patchett. You've been listening to Lake Stevens Vikings Varsity Baseball, and we'll see you on April 30th, 2018, when the Lake Stevens Vikings play the Jackson Timberwolves for the final conference series.